Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book A Family Maybe, no other than Mr. Lane Igoudin. Welcome to Book
Daniel,
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Lane.
God
And
bless you.
can you please introduce more about yourself?
Okay. Well, my name is Lane Igoudin. Um, I am a writer, an author. I teach, actually, I teach English as a second language and linguistics at Los Angeles City College. I've been there 20 years. And no less importantly, I am a father of two kids, and that's what my book is about.
Mr. Laney Gooden, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So can you please read one of your favorite chapter of your book?
Okay, so my book is called A Family Maybe. Um, Two dads, two babies, and the court cases that brought us together. It's a memoir of my partner, now my husband, the two of us adopting two kids from the foster care here in Los Angeles County. And I'm going to read the opening chapter, which kind of brings you directly into the middle of the story, and then I will talk about why this was the beginning of the book and not something else. Okay. So the chapter is called Curbside Delivery. It was on a hot, early summer afternoon, just before the breezes would begin blowing inland from the ocean, that Jonathan shot me an irritated sideways glance. Where is she? Didn't she say early in the morning? That was hours ago. What's taking her so long? A 6'3" athlete with the face of the Bridgerton lead, my partner John was lining up daisy patterned onesies and burp cloths by the bassinet in the baby room. I had heard him vacuum this room earlier, and before that, tidying up the crib and the toys in the baby room upstairs. Patience, dear, I sighed. Patience, just give her a few more minutes. She should be on her way. Like John, I was trying to control my anxiety by being useful, yet I couldn't help rushing to the window every time I heard a car drive by. Jackie Willis, our designated Los Angeles County social worker, was neither here nor responding to my calls. Did the county change its mind? Did they release the baby to her mother, Jenna? We had been living with this uncertainty for months. Jenna was due around Memorial Day, but with office closures and Jackie out on medical leave, the baby could have gone to the wrong home. But that Memorial Day, I received a phone call from Babushka, my Russian speaking grandmother. Mazel tov, she announced, your Jenna gave birth today. Well, how on earth do you know that? I scoffed at her. We've heard nothing from the county. I just know, she said in her raspy, confident voice. Так что не волнуйся, сам увидишь. Don't worry, you'll see it for yourself. I relayed her announcement to John, and he chuckled at my dear 84-year-old grandma, our closest ally in the family. I chuckled too, but deep down I felt even more anxious. What if she was right? I had no experience raising a newborn, nor did John. Zero. We'd been trained and certified, but that was all just textbook learning. We were really about to become caretakers of a tiny, fragile life, 100% 24/7. What were we getting ourselves into? 3 days later, a social worker called from the hospital with the news that the baby had been born on Memorial Day at noon, just as Babushka had said, but couldn't be released yet. She had sepsis, a potentially fatal blood infection, and had to be put on medication. Other arrangements had already been made by Jackie's Department of Children and Family Services. The newborn would not be released to her mother. Instead, she would be detained, that is, put in the court's protective custody and placed with us as her emergency foster home. The baby would remain with us as her long term foster parents, while Jenna would be given an opportunity and resources to reunify with her child. Sepsis made it easier for the county to carry out its plan. Jenna recovered quickly and was discharged home to continue, as we were told, with her drug rehab and counseling. Meanwhile, the baby was improving on antibiotics while the court, on the county request, formally detained her. But Jenna came back to breastfeed, and the nurse leaked the secret. Devastated and desperate, Jana refused to leave, pleading with the staff to let her take her baby home. On June 6th, the phone rang. I'm on my way to the hospital, Jackie yelled over the freeway hum in the background. Is Jana still there? Oh, yes, she sighed, still there, camped out, refusing to leave. She knows I'm coming to get the baby. Poor Jana. I couldn't imagine how she would feel, what she would do once Jackie got there. My chest tightened, and it was becoming real for us too. After all these months, really real. Our life was going to split into before and after. At 4:30, a black SUV pulled up to the curb in front of our house. Jackie? John ran out the front door, and I followed him out onto the porch into the blindingly bright afternoon. Jackie didn't hand the baby over, but waited for John to take her out of the car seat, inside her vehicle. Liability reasons, I assumed. In John's hands, the baby looked small, like a delicate light brown doll, her face no bigger than John's palm. All she had on was a pink onesie with the word baby embroidered in white across the chest. Despite my hesitations, a strong affection washed over me the moment I saw her, barely awake, helpless, innocent, and John just melted. Eyes on the baby, breathlessly he carried her into the house. Jackie looked a bit shaken. Jana had confronted her in the parking lot, yelling, accusing her of betrayal. Jackie handed me the cooler bag with several bottles of formula and a 3-inch binder with medical information and placement papers. The baby and the bag, no baby blanket, nothing else. Then Jackie glanced at her watch and said, I gotta go, guys. Trying to beat the rush hour. I thanked her. Jackie got back into her SUV and left. It was done. I found John inside in the hallway, standing still with the baby in his arms, awestruck. Keeping his eyes on her, he passed the infant to me. Then he picked up his car keys from the dining room table and headed out. I knew he would be back in a few minutes and not alone. I'm going to skip a couple of paragraphs to the end of the chapter where I'm still feeding the baby when the front door opened and in walked John with a toddler, holding him by the index finger, her cheeks rosy after a day of play at her preschool, the baby's older sister, Mariana.
Mr. Lane, thank you so much for reading your book. Interesting indeed. So, what are your challenges with your partner facing journey to parenthood?
Well, I will answer this question, but first of all, let me just tell you why I picked this particular moment in the
Yes,
story,
go
because
ahead.
this is about a third of our a third of the way into the story. We're about a third of the way into the process. So at this point, we had been fostering the older child, whose name is Mariana, and she was one when we met her. Soon thereafter, she moved in, and yeah, that's actually her. But our older daughter is on the left, and the younger one is on the right. And here they're 5 and 7. This is way past the end of my story, but so basically, she was with us for 8 months, and in the meantime, we were told by the accountant that the mother is pregnant, and we asked if we would take in the newborn. So we had gone through a lot of difficulties already with the court before that point. But when after her sister Gabriella was born and placed with us, as it just described, things really kind of went into the overdrive, and so this was probably one of the most dramatic moments in our story because the baby is placed with us, but her sister's already with us. So I can kind of I can give you some flashbacks as to how we got to this point, and I can also build the story forward from this point forward, how we're going to handle what's going on with both kids, with each of them, because each of them had a separate case, even though they're sisters. And so, kind of like moving forward, but also kind of building up the background to the story. I did not want to begin from the beginning and end to the end. I wanted to start someplace where it was kind of like a dramatic uh, moment in the story, and which would allow me to build the background and move forward. And that was the moment.
Yes. Interesting indeed. So, what are your struggles as a parent?
So our struggles as parents, well, during this process, were that basically we faced double stigma. Um, on one hand, we were stigmatized as gay parents because this was before equality. So we were still considered to be two unrelated adults raising somehow related children because they're sisters. And when we ended up adopting them, so there is a happy end at the end of the story. You know, the story is kind of a core drama that goes on for a while, but then when with a lot of intensity and a lot of sort of emotional pull. But at the end, there is a happy end. We were able to adopt our kids, and our kids are now 18 and 20, just so you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, ladies. But during the process, um, we were treated as sort of like second class citizens, second class type of parents in a way, because first of all, well, we were a gay couple raising two kids. And so we're no one to each other in the eyes of the federal government, and we would have all kinds of difficulties if we were to leave California and move some other state. Um, and this a kind of a broader stigma that we faced was that of being a foster adoptive parent, because as foster parents we were expected to take care of these kids and give them up at any moment, right? Give them back to the birth family. But as adoptive parents, we took them in to raise them as our own, and that was our intention. But that particular part of the story, which was, that we took them in to adopt them, was really not part of the process, because the process is designed to build up the birth family and send the kids back. Um, but in many situations, including the one that I'm describing, this is really not quite possible, given all kinds of circumstances and all kinds of people involved. But we're still shut out of the legal process, literally thrown out of the courtroom when we tried to petition to be part of the case, and feeling very powerless. So this powerlessness produced anger, and that anger I turned into, well, first of all, fighting for our family and the kids, but also wanting to tell the story, wanting to tell the story, because there's really nothing quite like this out there, which would really take you on a journey when you try to adopt a child from foster system and things go wrong. So I wanted to tell the story, and I was really committed to doing that. And I saved up the faxes, the court orders, emails, wanting to sit down and write the story once we get through this, whatever end that was going to be.
So, Mr. Lane, how does the book blend personal narratives with legal and social issues?
That's a very, very good question, because actually, this whole conflict between the legal, what I call the legal, and the human, is at the heart of the story. What's interesting, I was just looking at this chapter that I wrote for a book about writing memoirs.
Yes.
It's an academic book. It's called Writing as Performance: Accounts of Autoethnography. It was published by Cambridge Scholars. And I wrote a chapter called The Legal and the Human, Spotlighting Social Issues Through Memoirist Writing. So you just kind of hit it on the nail when you said the legal part of it. Yes, you are really, as an adoptive parent who is dealing with a legal process in which you're not allowed to be part of, you are right there at the heart of this conflict. So that drove me to write. That really drove me to write. I wanted to tell the story. I wanted to serve it as sort of as a warning, but also as an encouragement, saying that no matter how difficult it is, in the end, it's worth it. Because I don't just write about the proceedings in the court. I write about the two of us raising two wonderful babies, really, an infant and a baby, and as they grow and we learn parenting as we go along, there were all kinds of mishaps along the way. I mean, it was really a lot of fun, and it was also kind of very scary, but also a lot of fun. It was just the two of us raising two very small kids.
Certainly. And thank you so much for sharing that. So, what role does love and perseverance play in your journey to forming a family?
Love and perseverance. Um, I'm often asked um, if having kids somehow affected our relationship. I'd like to start there, because I deeply believe that, whichever way you have your kids, biologically, naturally, or through adoption, or surrogacy, whatever your path to parenthood is. I think when you make a decision to have a family as a couple, you and your partner are the core of the family. No matter what happens, you should really try to do your best to stay together. And I felt that, not that I felt that, I mean, it's a fact that us raising the kids together, we had no support, just the two of us, two adults, raising two kids, um, really brought us closer together because we had to work as two hands basically around the clock.
Yes.
So you probably know what I'm talking about. So you have to work together, and that really brings you together and really kind of blends you in many ways. And so yeah, I think it helped me reevaluate what love means, what relationship means when it's got so much more than just serving your own needs. And I would always say that you should never take your partner for granted. You may end up in a situation as difficult as ours, and you should be taking care of your partner. You should love them more. You say love them more, give
Love them
more, love
more.
them more.
Yes.
And so yeah, so we're here, still here. My Jonathan and I have been together 28 years. And so we're still together, going strong. And should also say that as a family, I want to go back to the kids. We've gone through a lot. And my memoir is not my autobiography. It's just a story of that particular eye-opening process, right? That we witnessed, that we went into and lived through. But if you fast forward to the present day, we're empty nesting. Our kids are 18 and 20. One of them lives near us. We're supporting her. She's working. So she's looking for herself, but we're still there for her. But she's living independently. The other one is away at college.
Wow.
But we're still very much a close knit family because the one that is on campus, she actually comes home. She'll be actually here tomorrow. I'm excited about it. And we get together, all four of us, and when she's not here, we FaceTime. We still do things together. We message. So we're still a very, very much a close knit family. And it's something that is also built on love.
Congratulations, Mr. Lane. So, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to adopt?
Who want to adopt? Well, I would say I would probably give you with a few takeaways. First of all, I would say expect the unexpected. um,
Yes.
because it's the public adoption. You can already, you probably got some idea from what from what I've been telling you. It's a very complex process with multiple parties involved in the child's present and future. We're talking about birth families, social workers, the judge, court-appointed attorneys, and their needs, responsibilities, alliances. They all fluctuate, you know, and makes the outcome, the result, very unpredictable. So what I suggest is the antidote to all this uncertainty is knowledge. You need to learn from the books, maybe like mine, maybe others, websites, social media groups, experts, adoptive parents in your community, and that will give you the understanding of the tools to address the issues as they arise. I would also say that you should learn your limits because as an adoptive parent, you can actually sort of design the child in a way that you want to bring into your family. So, really, think about what it means for you personally to choose a child. You can set up the parameters for the child or children you would like to bring into your home. You can select gender, age, sibling number, and also what's very important, the extent of known medical or psychological conditions. So we actually went through that, and I described that in the book. And we went through this questionnaire, figuring out exactly who we would like to parent. So we wanted to foster adopt a sibling set of two kids, preferably girls, up to age 5. We indicated a certain number of medical conditions that we're comfortable with. So that was all there, and it's kind of in a way it worked out the way we wanted. So set the limits and stick to them. I would also suggest to resist projecting your expectations on your child, be that your biological child or adopted child, because children are never really who we expect them to be.
Yes.
So so build on their natural strengths, right? Because we all come into parenting with expectations proven by our life experience, about the kind of person, they should be, we are, and that what they should be, right? So we think this will work for our children, but ultimately our children is who they are. And I'll give you an example. Like I'm not an athlete, right?
Yes.
I'm an English professor, and that's really kind of summarized, kind of tells you who I am. I love to read.
Yes.
I do yoga, but I'm not an athlete. But I noticed that one of our children showed a lot of sort of natural strength and kind of interest in doing things physically. So I ended up, she would, I have an example of at age 3 or 4, she would, after we washed her baby sister in the baby bathtub, she would upend the tub and let the water run out of it with
Mhm.
one arm. Like, that was interesting. So I enrolled her in swimming lessons, and after 1 year into water polo, and she played water polo for 7 years, and she was very good at it. And that gave her not just a great exercise, but also like healthy body self-image, improve her social skills, all of the above. So what I'm saying is, I would have never, like in a million years, thought that I would have a daughter who plays water polo. But there it is. She played water polo, and she was great at it.
Certainly. Love your children, their weaknesses and strength. So, Mr. Lane, what are your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
This was the book I never planned to write. Okay, I'm trained as a linguist. I teach English, but I also teach linguistics. I've written quite a lot, for academic books in linguistics, and I never planned to write this book, but I ended up writing it, and apparently it hits the nerve with with a lot of people. It's been finding its audiences. I've been, I had a really, really, really busy, I should say, book tour last year when the book came out. I spoke in 12 different places, and I had a pretty good response. And now, you're interviewing me in a few other places. So anyway, it's been doing well. And so I have another book length project that I have in mind that I'm planning to start on. I've kind of started like writing little bits and pieces for it. But in the meantime, I've been publishing essays, some based on the book, some are completely unrelated to the book. I'm really interested, a lot of writers think about the creative writing. They think, when they write short stories, when they write fiction, they think about literary magazines. I went a completely different route. I'm not trying to prove my skills as a writer. I'm trying to get certain stories out to the people. And what I find is that I would go into any outlet, be that podcast, blog, newspaper, website, a newsletter of a writing organization, whatever it is that has people who actually read it. And because I'm trying to get the story out, So I'll give an example, and just one example. I just published an excerpt from my memoir, which I rounded up into an essay, without changing anything. I just could have like cut it here, cut it there, and took some parts out of the middle. And it ended up being a very well-rounded essay. So this essay was published by a popular food blog.
Yes.
You know why? Because they're looking for recipes, family recipes with a story to go with it. So I gave him a story of my grandmother, the one I mentioned before, Babushka, the 84-year-old with a walker, who comes to visit us, and she and I are taking our kids to the visit with the birth parents, and there was a lot of drama going on there, right? And we come home, and she and I cook borscht, which is a traditional Ukrainian,
Sure.
beet-based soup, that
Yes.
she taught me how to make. So she and I are making borscht while we're waiting for the visit to end, right? And then we go back, pick up the kids, bring them home, and then we all sit down for the Friday night for the Shabbat dinner. The four of us plus her and my sister, six of us actually, all together, and we enjoy the borscht that we cooked. Okay, so the hardest part in that, to be honest, was not actually to write to put together the essay, because it was all written. I mean, it was in my book. It was actually to put together the recipe, because they wanted the exact measurements. How many cups of this? How many pounds of beets? And potatoes and cabbage. I'm like, I have no idea. It's just, I just know the right amount. I put it all in. So that was hard. But let me tell you, that food blog, it's called One Potato, onepotato.org. Um, it goes out to over 60,000 subscribers. So I was able to get this story out of many people, and so that this is something that I really enjoy doing. I look for new venues to get this story out, and that's what I'm really interested in.
Awesome, Mr. Lane. Again, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. So, before we wrap up our discussion, speaking of food, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, people. Fifth season with Chef Alessandro, one of his specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen. Food 101, wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Len, in what ways does a family maybe serve as an inspiration for other same sex couples facing illegal hurdles?
Um, well, the landscape has changed for same-sex couples. Today in Canada, I hear you're in Toronto. I'm in California. Um, it's legal to adopt in all 50 states. Of course, this can all change. We have new administration in Washington, and we have all kinds of politics going on that may throw us back 25 years to the way things used to be. So, but in the meantime, it's fine. But what I would say is my book has a much wider audience than just LGBTQ, because it's a story of a family, of building a family through adoptions from foster care, and as such, um, I just speak to the general audience. It's a human interest story. It has a gay aspect to it, but it's in a way it's sort of secondary to the much bigger story, which is about what it's like to adopt from foster care. In the United States, at the time that we went into the process, there were almost 500,000 kids. Actually, I'm sorry, not almost, more than 500,000 kids in foster care, of which the largest foster care system was right here in Los Angeles. Los Angeles then and now had the largest foster care system. So what is it like when you've got 30,000 kids in foster care that need a home, and there are not enough homes to take them in, and not enough families to adopt them? So I think it kind of it introduces the reader to this particular venue, but I think it's also encourage. I really want to encourage prospective parents who are thinking about, well, maybe I should start a family with a child. Maybe I should augment my family with a child from foster care. And I would say, do it. Do
Do
it.
it.
You
Yes.
do so much more. You do so much more when you give that child, which does not have a family, a home, permanency in his, her, their life. You give them a forever family that they really need. So I would really like you to encourage you to consider that.
Yes, thank you so much again, Mr. Lane Igoudin, for sharing your books to the world. And we are looking forward for more and more and more empowering books like this. So can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Um, well, um, you can. Okay,
Yes.
so you can find my book on Amazon, on Bookshop, in regular bookstores. It's published by Traditional Press, which is the Ulgan Press of Portland State University. It's called The Family Maybe. My name is Lane Igoudin, Igoudin. I also have a website, laneigudin.com. And you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Lane Igoudin. Just reach out there or send me an email to the same laneigudin@gmail.com. So I'll be happy to hear from you, and I'll be very glad. It'll be very interesting to hear what my readers have to say about it. So
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Lenny Gooden, because if you support him, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Lane, thank you so much for your time.
thank you so much, Daniel. This was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome, people. See you soon. So, Mr. Lane.